This is genuinely something really different and truly beautiful.
We're about to launch Christmas here on Gold Radio and play our very first Christmas song of 2024. An iconic track that spanned generations, but with a new twist. And here to tell us all about it is Bob Geldof.
Yeah!
Yes! Thanks for coming in.
So it's getting too early each year, he moaned as an old man. I was down in Bargain Home something or another, and there was about 5 people buying their plastic Christmas trees. Don't. Money's tight. Lop a branch off the nearest pine tree, stick it in the front room.
Well, I think a lot of people have got their trees up after the weekend as well, you know.
Oh, for God's sake.
I know. It's getting earlier every year.
That's what I just said. You're said, you're old as well, so I suppose it's okay.
We can moan about these things. It's fine. So it's 40 years since but they say it's the song that changed the world.
They do say that, but it's flattering, but I actually think that may be what happened.
It is. Well, it was groundbreaking at the time, wasn't it?
It was, and immediately following it, of course, the world followed with famously USA for Africa, but then the Canadians with Northern Lights. I mean, maybe you'll remember the Bryan Adams song with Joni Mitchell and Neil Young pitching up in a taxi to do it. The French did it, the Germans did it, the Australians did, the Norwegians did, and that culminated in Live Aid. Where the world spoke to each other for the first time since we left the Rift Valley, I suppose. And, $500 million, more or less, later from this little song where we captured the political structures of the world at Gleneagles and the G8 in 2005. And we made the economic arguments, and the world tilted slightly towards those who've got absolutely nothing. So this little song did change things. And yesterday I woke up to the daily trail of horror that I have to confront every morning for the last 40 years, which is what's happening to those people that we seek to help with your money. It was awful, but 300,000 people yesterday got healthcare for the first time with your money. 8,000 more children will get fed now through this year. No one talks of the mass slaughter that's happening in Sudan as we speak, mass rape, but the damaged, broken women who can make it over the border with their panicked and exhausted children will meet people there who are paid for by Band-Aid money to try and, to give them shelter and succor and help and food and make them protected and warm and try and put them back together as people. So that's Band-Aid for me on a daily basis.
You've just spoken about all those horrific things, but it must make you feel awfully proud inside.
No, I don't. The proud thing doesn't happen to me. It's a great lack. I wish it did, but no. I mean, within 10 minutes of it, the record company were on the phone saying, "What's the next one? We need it now, quick." That's what happened. So it doesn't occur to me. It's daily Band-Aid. And it's not fun. It's often very boring. But if you say, what did a small 3.5-minute pop tune knocked off one winter's afternoon in October in 1984, what did you do with it? Well, that's what we all did. Every station, every DJ, every producer, every TV show, every record shop, every record company, every publishers, everything just said, yeah, here we go with this. And these kids, these spotty English kids wandering up the road to record this dodgy song one afternoon, and 40 years later, there they are on the track still.
It's incredible. I must have brought back some great memories as well, working.
No, it doesn't. That's not what happens with me. I'll tell you what it is, this one. This one is specific, and it genuinely is. I think if you're into music, I think you have to have it. Besides, every single penny you give us will go immediately to someone who needs it. But I think what this is a tiny piece of British rock and roll history. On this one record, it transcribes the arc of British rock and roll over 40 years, because we have the 3 official Band-Aids, 84, 04 and 2014. Those 3 generations of artists who are kids now, but who are transcendent. They really are. They did make the weather for the culture of the last part of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century. And, you know, to hear a young Sting singing with, say, a young Harry Styles, to hear a young Rita Ora singing with a young, you know, Sinead O'Connor, to hear Bananarama and Sugar Babes, to hear Underworld and Kool and the Gang, to hear Guy Garvey and Boy George singing together, to hear George Michael at his most powerful and most beautiful, you know, singing with, you know, I don't know, you know, Tony Hadley of Spandau Ballet or Paul Weller or something. It's extraordinary.
And what a band as well.
And what a house band.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, why I say the Ark of British Rock, we can go back to the beginning, to the greatest, to the Beatles. There's Paul McCartney on bass, Sting on bass, Roger Taylor of Queen on drums, Phil Collins on drums, Danny Coffey of Supergrass on drums, piano, Tom York, Radiohead, guitar, Johnny Greenwood, Radiohead, Midge Ure, Damon Albarn, Paul Weller, Justin Hawkins. I don't know, because that's the band.
Wow.
Yeah. So here's the thing, listeners of Gold Radio. Can you identify, so this is supposed to be like greatest hits, old tracks. Can you identify the voices as they come up on this track one by one after the other? You know, how cool are you? Also, how old are you? But like, you know, how cool are you?
I've got every confidence in our listeners. I think
I'd love to play it live, and I bet you'll stumble after three. I've just done a show where they said, I know exactly who's the first one. I said, who? And they said some ridiculous name. Sounds nothing. I said, what? Nothing. They said, okay, then it's Robbie. No, it's not Robbie. How can you possibly think it's Robbie? So this is going on. But to ask, the idea was, how do we celebrate what this country achieved? I've gone through what they've done to help keep people alive. Hundreds of thousands. Really, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, are alive because of what this record asked people to do, and they did, okay? So how do you celebrate that? And how do you celebrate just the artistry? I thought, okay, let's take the three official tracks, bang them together, and I'll get Trevor Horn, the producer, to do it. And he said, you're joking, mate. And I said, what? And he said, they're all different tempos and keys and people sing. I said, yeah, you can work it out, mate, you know. So he did. And he said, but I'm going to have to get people singing the same line. I said, yeah, of course, just they can sing the same line. It doesn't matter. And they do, but it sounds right.
I mean, the guy's a genius. And there's a video as well.
He's a genius.
Yeah.
And the video guy came in and I said, I want them all to appear like they do on the record, as if they're in one room. And he said, but that's not good. And I said, that's what Trevor says it's not possible. It is possible. They can all be singing with each other in the same studio. And then to unify it all, David Bowie introduced it at the beginning. Top of the Pops wouldn't play it because it broke the rules. You had to be in the top 40. So I called the head of BBC, Michael Grade, and he said, no, you can't go on Top of the Pops, but I'll give you a programme before it and get someone to introduce it. So I called David Bowie, as you do. Absolute genius. And all the people on the first one were, in effect, Bowie's children musically. And David showed up, and he was a wonderful man, a great bloke. And he looked so cool and beautiful. I thought, no, David, honestly, it's not about that. He said, well, what do you want me to do? I said, wear my crap T-shirt. So there's Bowie, still looking mega and cool, wearing my crap Feed the World T-shirt. And he tops and tails it. And what Trevor has done, by introducing these elements of the past, he's topped and tailed it with a man who transcends all that time. Bowie will be listened to forever and will be a major influence on British music forever. There's
without doubt
of that. So he tops and tails it, and in between you have the greatest artists of British pop history, without question. And then David comes back at the end when the three choirs are lined up as one. And he says, you know, someone once said rock and roll will change the world. Happy Christmas.
I remember that. Yeah. Absolutely. I remember speaking to Majur about the track, and he said it's become like a modern-day Christmas carol.
I think it's entered the culture.
Yeah.
Where it strikes me as being other is when, you know, some yahoos from around the corner come and try and sing Christmas carols, which they haven't a clue about. They're just on the make, you know. And they start off, Silent Night, Holy Night, and then they remember, Come All Ye Faithful from school, Come All Ye. And then they'll go, It's Christmas time. and you kind of go, wow.
That's yours.
Yeah, I wrote that in a taxi going over to Midges, you know. I mean, it's bonkers. But this, I promise you, not because this is version new. This is, for me now, Midges one was the definitive one. This, for me, is not just absolutely a work of production art. It is so beautiful. It's so moving. As you think about Sinead and George, you know, Sinead with that rage and passion as she sings her lines. The passion of this woman. And it was the 2014 one where we're singing about the Ebola crisis, where people couldn't touch each other. This is what I saw on telly. So I wrote the lines, where to touch is to be feared or something. I can't remember the lines. And it's like Bono. You know, Bono argued with me about his line, which then subsequently he insisted on singing, but again changed for 2014. So on the song and on the video, you'll hear a very young Bono biting his nails around all these pop stars. On the video, I introduced George Michael to Bono, and I say, Bono, this is George Michael. And George turns around and said, I get so nervous when I meet pop stars. You know, it's so cute, all of this.
I love
it's so
that.
English and amateur compared to schlick American USA for Africa. And Bono, then we've got the young Bono doing the exact same biting his nails nervously as the middle-aged Bono, and then the older Bono. And he's singing the different lines throughout, but with the same total understanding. There's a bit in the video where he says, just go back to the beginning so I know what I'm singing about. And then he just nails it, you know. And, of course, you know, it's such a famous line now because it's delivered with such authority, such understanding. But actually, the song does its job because it oozes compassion. It oozes empathy and mercy. See, I'm for people. I'm for life. That's my thing. And it's perfect for this time of the year when we pause, we take a breath, we get a bit of perspective about who we love and take note of those we're fighting with and the family unspoken traumas and dramas, but we give each other tokens of affection and sit down and break bread, and we notice the cold man on the street. We notice the old lady in the cold flat. We notice these things, whereas in the workaday year, we really don't. It's deeply ingrained and special. And that's what this song is. Good on you. Lucky us. We can do all that. And there's another world where we don't have the cornucopia of the West, where we don't have an absolute of everything, where there are 300 million people going to bed hungry tonight in Africa, 600 million in the world, and where today the National Health Service has been drained of funds because of obesity. That's wrong. It's wrong. It's mad. You know, so that's Bob crapping on. That's my job. Their job was to sing their guts out. And for 40 years they've done that, and that's what you're going to hear. This is genuinely something really different and truly beautiful.
All-time classics.